I was muted on the YouTube. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the NFT Morning Show. In this edition, where we talk about the biggest and brightest news in the NFT market over the last 24 hours. We speculate on the value of JPEGs. We talk startups. We talk venture funding. We talk pump and dumps, scams, and everything in between. And absolutely, of course, we try to have some fun along the way, but we try to keep it controlled. With me, I have my co-host, Nick, entrepreneur, fashionista, absolutely crushing it on the Twitter and growth front. We have Spencer here.
Am I?
I think you are. I think you are. We got Easy Signal and Spencer. Spencer rocking with the Pudgy plushie. Spencer, I got my my little toy in the back. Oh, let's go.
Wait, did they just get delivered or something?
Spencer, you got the
I got mine yesterday. I placed several orders of them and they've been trickling in recently.
I was surprised. Mine, Nick, mine rolled in like 4 or 5 days afterward. These little toys.
I've been waiting on those. So this is complete bullshit. But appreciate y'all discussing it. I like our target niche with our content as well. Why didn't you throw in traffic in there as well? We discussed traffic no matter where you are.
Yeah, the 95 freeway is mildly backed up. A storm's a brewing. There's been 2 accidents, and right now the tractor trailer's rolled over. And currently there's eggs all over the highway. It looks like it's going to be about a 3-hour cleanup, and we will bounce back.
Are they hard boiled?
Oh, absolutely. They are boiled and hard for sure.
I gotta find that. I gotta find that area. So I can go eat my morning breakfast.
I just said, those penguins are damn cute. Like seriously, like really cute.
I got 2 of them, and my dog claimed one of them. He's very happy about it. He's now claimed it as his own.
Mine was supposedly delivered on Tuesday, and there's going to be a conversation down in the package room. Let's just say that, okay? That's what's going on right now. I'm about to have to investigate.
Well, you know, Pudgy Penguin toys are so popular; they're getting stolen off people's doorsteps. That's kind of what's going on here. You know, the thieves looked at it. They said, "Oh, iPhone 12, iPhone 12 Pro. No, forget that. I don't want that. I want to grab the Pudgy Penguin plushie. That's what I want. I'm gonna go to Nick O'Neill's house." I did not get the shark. I'm really sad about it.
It's only you could spend $1,500 to go purchase it on eBay.
I can't tell you how many times it's been in my cart on eBay. More than I'm willing to admit. I don't know. I'm buying a bunch of trading cards recently. There's a lot of collectibles purchases that I'm in the midst of making, and I have also come to the conclusion that like $1,500 to me feels close enough to wanting to just buy another little. Like I don't know that it's worth. Like I just kind of would rather have the digital collectible. Like I don't see a world where the physical collectible is worth a ton and the digital isn't. It would be nice to put on my wall for Zoom calls and stuff, but besides that,
it's good flex. Yeah, they were selling on eBay. I saw one sold for like $800. So they're coming in. I have one bone to pick with these little collectible ones. To be honest, I wasn't very like blown away by the quality of these. They smell like pretty like they smell like Sharpies, and I expected them to they feel super hollow. Anyways, for what it's worth, I think these are what?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I wasn't
I gotta floor everything now.
But I don't know. Like if I was a kid and like my dad got me this, I would be like, you know, you can't really. I
feel like, yo, what's this toy, Dad? Oh, what is this?
Yeah, Father, you ruined Christmas.
Brat. That's what you sound like. When was the single time when you were a child that your parent got you a toy and you were just like, this toy is insufficient?
Yeah, never.
I'd be fine with it if he had already gotten me Zelda.
Can you imagine a dog acting that way?
Nope. You give him anything, he's happy. Toy. Anything you give that thing, he is ecstatic. He saw the penguin come out of the package. The penguin came out of the package. He stood on his hind legs and said, yeah, that's mine. That is mine. Thank you.
What was it? You gave it the plushie, like the little stuffed animal?
I gave him one of these. I got 2 of these ones, not the same one. I gave him the purple one with the flower headband, and he loves it. It's his favorite toy. He runs around the house. It's bigger than him, so it's like way better to watch him try to carry this thing and jump on the couch and bounce off of it because he can't see anything.
You know, there's also something that I got to remind everyone as a hardcore physicals collectible. It's really important to always get 2 of each so you can rock one and stock one. You know, so if you're trying to like cuddle with it, hug it, you redeem the code, you got to get one that you take out of the package. And then if you're really a hardcore collector, you need one, you keep it in the original plastic, keep it stocked.
You know,
I love that. I love it. Spencer, you're such the kind of guy who has the original iPhone in a box. Like, it's like the original iPhone unboxed and is just like flocking and selling them on eBay for 40 grand. You are, right? You've got the original iPhone, surely.
So I don't have the original iPhone, but I am exactly that type of person. I have a lot of stuff in box. Also, we had a rule in my household that we weren't allowed to buy new plushies because we just have way too many. And I smashed that rule. I said, you know what? It's Pudgy Penguin season, and I can buy as many damn well Pudgies as I please.
So the rule was you couldn't buy new plushies. You had to buy them used?
No. Like, we just have too many plushies. No.
what are you talking about?
Only used toys in this
It's
house.
not an environmental concern, although stuffed animals are an environmental concern. If you look at all of the waste from the stuffed animal industry, it's a real issue that people are dealing with. But I'll skip over the environmental impact because Bitcoin is a far worse enemy of the environment, as we're all aware. Just devastating everything about the environment, causing kind of it to be 90 degrees right now on the East Coast today, and all because of Bitcoin. But we'll save that for another question because a lot of people seem to disagree with me. And, I just think those people are crazy. But the thing I was going to say just about real quick about this plushie thing, there's a collectibles TV show called King of Collectibles on Netflix, I think. And basically, like, one of the people on the guy's teams at some point is like, there's a fine line between hoarder and collector. And I feel like that's definitively the case in this like scenario where like at what point will the physical Pudgy be worth, a significant sum of money? You basically need to hold on to these things for like an extended period of time before it appreciates that level. Or you can take the counter, which is like a lot of them happen immediately. So like Bored Ape Yacht Club, limited inventory, first round stuff sold out immediately. So
it's also like you got to look at it too. Like sneakers is a big thing with that. Like that industry, it's like when a new colorway drops, that's like has a lot of speculation and hype. The first iteration goes crazy, and then they re-release colors, and eventually that floor trickles down because now like supply, despite the years, are not quite there. So it's like that's a massive collector space for it too. It's always really interesting. I actually like that you brought up the physical side too, because I had a very long conversation with Bunny yesterday about if I thought Bored Apes would ever get back to $500,000. And I said no. I was very kind of like strong on this take. And I compared it to Charizard PSA 10s, which there's less than 10,000 of. But like you got to think of like collectibles from that instance. And I think that there is a lot of overlap. It was a good conversation. It was interesting to hear Bunny share some intellectual thought.
Dude, my mom threw out my first edition Charizard. I had all the first editions.
Oh, that's devastating. Pio, I see you have your hand raised. Anything to add with the collectibles conversation?
Well, I was just going to say, I just sold my V Friends 2 collectibles. So for all the Gary V people out there, they know that if you just minted V Friends 2, Gary had like all your info. I think he's like the first guy that took everybody's like email address, home address, and all that. And he just sent physical collectibles to your house. Like when they got to my house, I was like, what are these things? And I ended up selling them, 3 of them on eBay. I minted 3 V Friends. 3 physicals, 2 common, 1 super rare. Like I got the rarest one, and the total haul, literally I just finished selling them. I just shipped them like a few days ago. The total haul was like $600.
Damn. 600 is that's significant. What the fuck? And he had me buy that speculative whatever bullshit one, and I don't get anything. Dude, that thing was such a scam.
You did not even get a thank you text.
No,
Like
he just
literally nothing.
assumed that I was going to go and spend thousands of dollars. I think how much was that? Like $10,000 or something?
it was like
Yeah,
8 when you
10
bought it.
grand, 10 grand.
What a waste of fucking money.
But
What I-
you
what
did
I
it
will-
because he texted you personally. Like, I don't think you would have bought it if he hadn't texted you personally. So he kind of bait and switched you right there. That's the thing. Like, if you're getting like a text message from the founder, you're way more likely to buy it than if you're just browsing on OpenSea. So, like, it was good marketing on his side.
And,
Well,
it made for
talking about it. So Gary V is still on set. Maybe that's why he didn't let me be a speaker this year, but allowed actual scammers to be speakers at the conference. So I don't know, like maybe so that I would discuss it.
one last thing on
Name
VCon.
names.
One last thing on VCon. So there was this
Well,
TikTok
it was in a
that went,
wallet. It was in a document that I didn't control. So I'm not quite sure of whether or not I can comment on those things.
there was a TikTok that went viral of everyone that came back from the VCon conference. They were selling everything. Someone's trying to sell a VCon 2023 napkin for $15, and they were selling like hotel cards, everything that like had Gary V's name on it. They were all trying to flip it. It was the most like Gary V energy that I've ever
You
seen.
start with 0. You can flip it for $2. And you take those $2, you go to a garage sale, buy 5 Matchbox cars, you can get $10.
Exactly. There you go. There you go. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to kick this show off. We have a lot of big news to talk about today, most specifically, first starting out with Doodles announcing some big summer plans. We have a big captain's sweep from a fresh wallet called OrlandoHo.eth. That was causing some Twitter waves today. And we're going to discuss some further mint details coming out of Ozerbala and Ferocious. But before we get started, Kicks, please take it away with the weather report whenever you're ready.
Once you're done chewing, you've been chewing for a freaking half hour over there. What are you munching on?
I went to the dentist yesterday, and she said that I need to eat more food in the morning to really stimulate my gum health and my jawline. So, like, I'm not sorry, Nick, my bad, but like, I listened to people that went to medical school. That's just how I've survived as long as I survived. So,
Look, your
I appreciate
jawline.
you back off a little bit, okay? And I think it's about to be time for the weather report. Today's Thursday, June 1st, 2023. Total market volume coming in at 28.2 million. Blur 13.4, OpenSea 5.5. Looking over at the leaders, we got Apes 45.4, Mutants 9.7, Punks 52. Not much changing there. Azuki, nice rally above 15 to 15.8. D-Gods 8.6, Captains cooking 9.7. Easy bought those at 0.5 ETH. Pudgy's
0.03,
showing
baby.
4.6, big pullback. Over the past 24 hours, Force held a 2-hour comeback tour on spaces with over 1,500 attendees. Updates included a partnership with Epic developers to build a Fortnite Force world map. Bonus rewards for trading the collection in rare Force ordinals. You got to get ordinals in there. Floors broke 2 ETH before settling back at 6 ETH this morning. Just any buzzword, throw it at them. Epic, Fortnite, ordinals. Let's go, Force. Ferocious now news on his upcoming PFP. Fawos will be a 20K collection dropping in August with paint drops acting as the mint pass for Fawos. A bundle package of 201 paint drops sold for $70,000, while single drops hit a high of 0.66 yesterday. I feel like you guys were trading paint like this time last year. So excited to hear from you about that. Spirit DAO sold out their first comic. The collection has less than 1,000 comics minted for 0.1. Early sales went for as low as 0.5 wrapped ETH before demand came in, pushing the floor to 0.6 ETH. Floor settled this morning at 0.4 ETH. Lastly, Nike boxes finally finished public mint. Despite some technical issues, over 50,000 members minted boxes. More than 90,000 were sold, raising $1.8 million. Expect an announcement in a couple of hours as to what's next for the boxes. I'll tell you what, I don't understand why people are sending money to Ben.eth or buying shit coins when we have news like this coming out of the NFT space. That was incredible. Back to you in the studio. But first, little crypto update. Bitcoin 26.8, ETH 1,800, Solana just below 21.8, holding steady 3.1. Over to you, Clemente.
Phenomenal weather report from the multi-chain moneymaker, Captain Kicks. Who your jawline's looking phenomenal. I think it was the
I know,
activation of your jaw today. I think.
I feel like it was already decent. Although if you shave, it'll actually show more definition.
I shaved, dude, and I was like, dude, I got. I was like,
Nick,
now
when
I
are you gonna
realize.
get a mustache?
Why I can't grow facial hair? I also never went through puberty.
Oh,
Let's get on to the
It's
next
a
part of
sensitive
the
question.
okay.
But some updates from the Nifty Daily Digest. You can subscribe at thenifty.com, enter your email, and you will get this delivered to your inbox every single morning. And you can use this email to mint our daily free NFTs. So you're not going to want to miss out on that. The first story of the day is Doodles is partnering with Camp Stores to launch its inaugural retail and entertainment experience, also offering Doodles holders exclusive perks such as free entry, merchandise credits, collector concierge services, and custom creation opportunities.
Camp
Oni-
Stores is pretty big deal.
Yeah, well, we'll dive into that one later.
First time I've ever heard of it.
I live on top of one, so shut your damn mouth. Let's go on to the next one.
Oni
Okay.
Force we covered this already, but they're collaborating with Unreal Engine service partner Taya Interactive to create Oni World in Fortnite Creative 2.0, aiming to expand.
Big name there, Taya Interactive. Love that.
Well, there we go. Aiming to expand their intellectual property across the metaverse. Third, we have Azurbala reversing their initially set 0.08 mint price. Now they said, fuck it. They only require the burning of a bored and dangerous NFT starting June 15 to receive the PFP. They actually said that swear word. It was kind of crazy. Pixelmon is launching a new game mode called Pixelmon Party Quest, allowing players to form teams from their collection of trainers and Pixelmon and stake them based on preset tiers to embark on adventures in Nova Terra for weekly prizes. Those are your updates from the Nifty Daily Digest. Don't forget to subscribe at thenifty.com. Nick, I'll throw it over to you. Any of these stories in particular you want to start out with?
Well, I just want to say Pixelmon was cooler when they were doing nothing. So that was pretty exciting. The other thing here is that Oni Force pump was quite short-lived, man. It went up to like 2 ETH. And then this morning I was in the shower and I had not even looked at the floor yet. And I was like, I should have sold it like right away, basically, because I know that this pump is going to be short-lived.
Dude, you weren't bullish on the long-term price action with a Fortnite map?
Well, here's the question. Like, okay, we can discuss the Fortnite thing because I actually am. Spencer had asked some questions.
Are you about to do that? Please say you're not.
That we're about to do a Fortnite map.
Yeah.
That's what our entire company's focus is at this point, Kicks. I thought you were already aware of that.
Okay.
We were going to shut down this podcast and just focus on Fortnite maps.
Thank God I'm working on my jawline. I can get back into action.
Supposedly we're muted on Twitter, Clemente.
Oh, shit.
They didn't miss much, so.
We were
Yeah,
completely muted there.
Jeez. It was Kix's jawline was distracting me. Anyways, Nick, I saw you were listening to the Oni Force Twitter space. Spencer, you as well. You were on stage.
Let's just give a recap for everyone that was muted there. I was just saying that pump was short-lived. That was what mattered there, and that was the synopsis of it. In terms of the news, Kix commented on the Fortnite map, sort of deriding it there and saying that this is a bunch of bullshit. I had some private conversations with some, let's call it influential people inside of the gaming industry last night to get a better understanding of what the implications of this really are. And it sounds like the conclusion from this right now is that it's much ado about nothing. But what I was saying is where the possibility lies is if Fortnite decides to actually start promoting these maps or somehow elevating them within the game. That would be like the dream scenario, that this becomes a Facebook platform type watershed moment where a bunch of startups can suddenly launch. The distinction, if you're also wondering, between the Facebook platform where you could monetize throwing shit at each other with ads and NFTs where you can scam each other out of money, there's not much distinction between it. And now we're moving on to Fortnite, where you can Roblox actually, where you can sell kids a subscription with the promise of learning something about entrepreneurship. Despite
Nick, I was just joking around. I'm not really hating that bad, and I'm just excited. I hope people also come and check out our Minecraft world.
Guys, can you explain what is a Fortnite map and why is this like significant?
I'll break it down as simplistically as possible. So there's been 2 organizations so far who have done this: Gossamer Seed and now OniForce. In Fortnite, they've partnered with Unreal Engine Editor. Unreal Engine Editor is a way to build video game worlds in a much more,
and by partnering, like that's a software. So like that's being like, I partnered with Microsoft Word to bring you this document.
Word doc, this Google Doc. Yeah, like Google partnered with Microsoft to build Google Docs.
Well, not with Teo. So their partnership with Teo or whatever is
so that's a contractor.
Teo 3D actually builds these worlds and experiences. So you get to go into Fortnite, you enter in a code to enter the world that they've built. The Gossamer Seed one is a fully playable world that's based around their NFT ecosystem. OniForce is most likely going to be creating something similar. You can go in, fight characters, boss battles, very video game-esque. There's no NFTs in it currently, nothing for it. It's just purely gameplay that's built around this world that they've established. So complete customization and control to create these experiences for consumers. The creative maps have been out for an extended period of time, but they have not had Unreal Engine until probably the last 4 or 5 months. It was a pretty big deal when they dropped it because people were recreating like Call of Duty maps in Fortnite and all these other things that have used Unreal Engine. So it's more just like an interactive experience. The thing that a lot of people are speculating on, however, is Epic, the company behind Fortnite, has been one of the only video game launchers. So you think of Steam and Epic are 2 platforms like app stores that you can download games from to play. Epic Game Store is the only one right now that has been open to crypto and NFT games. So Epic is already stated this year alone, there's over 100 that they'll be rolling out or have plans to, and 20 that are imminent. Right now, Epic has released a battle royale called Grit. That's a Western base that does have NFTs in the game. They have an NFL Players Association style game that's multiplayer that you can buy like packs, much like NBA Top Shot, and play like a light version of Madden. And those are all actual NFTs that can be bought and sold on the secondary. So people are speculating that the creative will open up down the line experiences to ingest NFTs from external resources.
I don't know what the implications of this are, other than like it's like
it literally doesn't matter unless you make something so good that you actually get traffic. It's a traffic thing at the end of the day.
In other words, right now it's your job to drive all the traffic to this place. They're giving you the tools to develop it. My question is there some future, and that's where the gaming person I was speaking to was suggesting essentially, or my question was this: is there a future in which they provide distribution to publishers? And that's like, what's the incentive right now to go build these maps unless you're like an individual? Like, why would I go do this and invest?
I think you said it is like the kind of hope and speculation is that much like you can promote apps on the App Store to get up the rankings, to get more eyes on it, that you'll be able to basically pay for AdSense to push your creative map into an easy to access place. Right now, more people play creative on Fortnite than there's more daily active players on creative maps than there are in the actual game. So the hope there is that these NFT worlds will be able to push up. Fortnite still has 194 million monthly active users, and the majority of those are playing creative. So yes, there's still a very hyped esports scene that is like playing the traditional battle royale, but the casual gamer is now currently playing some of these creative maps.
Do you have a light that you use, by the way? I feel like you got to turn on the light, but because you're coming in dark. But aside from that, we can hear your audio. That's
all that matters.
So more people play Fortnite creative right now. And how do they find all these things? Is it all word of mouth?
So there is, when you log into Fortnite to actually play, there's 2 different tiers. The top's like 2 different lines on the map when you click in that lets you select what game mode you want to play. The top is like battle royale, single player, 4v4, duos, and like that's the traditional game. And then they have like the esports style games where it's competitive. So you have casual and competitive at the top tier line when you first log in. So literally the visual you see, the entire first bar is competitive and
I
casual
used to
battle
go there
royale.
and just play battle royale. That was
The line right under that is all the various creative maps that have the highest foot traffic. So the ones that are getting the most users played are the ones being promoted to the top of that tier. So other people are seeing these other creative maps. So like right when the Unreal Engine launched, the Call of Duty map was like the big one. Like someone rebuilt Rust, which is a hyper popular Call of Duty map, and that was getting a ton of foot traffic until Call of Duty DMCA'd it.
So this actually is kind of interesting from the standpoint that, like, if you want eyeballs on IP and you can drive, and eventually there's a way to run ads to it, which it seems inevitable that they would launch ads in there, because that's actually a major monetization model for Apple, is that you can run App Store ads. Then in theory, you could drive hundreds of thousands of people to your map without having to build in new complicated game dynamics, because the foundation of it is already built in, right? Gameplay is known. You could go play battle royale mode inside of my map that I've created, which has specific IP. Now, you'd need to probably provide some sort of additional thing on top of it to keep people sticking around, as to like, why would they go stay there versus somewhere else. But in theory, it's interesting. I just don't know, like, what's the path through which that's distributed.
Yeah,
And
it's not like you create a mediocre experience and Epic's just going to pick your name out of a hat and be like, you get #1 on the distribution list. Right? Like, you're going to have to make like a really, as Easy said, the top games that are played the most are the ones that are put at the top. Therefore, you need to make a game that is fun enough to be at the top. And if you're making games that are fun enough to be at the top, then you should probably be an NFT video game company and not a PFP company. This is the problem I always run into, is when these types of companies want to become hop into the video game space or hop into like it's just not easy. The metaverse space, like those things are just kind of like buzzwords. Like it's not easy to be good at that. And then even if you launch a good map, what is your monetization model? Do you even have one? Or if it's just distribution and eyeballs, well, then how are you monetizing those eyeballs in your whole brand? I mean, I'm not trying to hate on this. It's just like, I feel like we've heard these kinds of things. I feel like a month ago we heard about like 90 partnerships with Epic. And
so I've played the Gossamer series.
What happened to Mechaverse? What happened to Mechaverse is metaverse. You know what I mean? Like, we hear these things over and over and over again, and it's really hard for these things to materialize into breakout success.
Yeah, because I mean, they're essentially what you're saying, Cakes, is they're essentially having to compete with like multi-billion-dollar companies, right?
Yeah,
and they're just an NFT project's like, hey, we're gonna do this. I mean, it kind of not on the side, but it's not going to be your primary focus. Just to put a bow on this, Spencer, Force tweeted out this about a week and a half ago, this comeback tour. And May 31st was supposed to be the big day that was circled. Yesterday, we saw the news about ordinals and this, and like we were talking about this Fortnite creative. What do you expect? To me, it sounds like this was their big marketing push. Do you have any expectations on possibly where the collection might go from here? I was looking at the chart and it looks great over the last 30 days, but I'm curious if you think there will be a little bit of a sell-off from here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, like, I think this was their first sprint, and it's about basically a 3-month sprint. Like, they bought the collection 3 months ago. My understanding was there's a lot of logistics involved in buying it. And so this was like truly 3 months of work. And they were coming out and they were saying, hey, here's what 3 months of work looks like. One thing that I'm curious to see is the cadence of their sprints, right? Like, we see Pudgy doing this pretty intentionally. It's like once a quarter, it's Pudgy season, right? That's something that they do on a pretty consistent quarterly basis. It wouldn't shock me if Oni adopts a similar like quarterly cadence. I think, as we've talked about, between the ordinals and the release of 2 different comic books, we saw in the last couple of days too, they've announced a few advisors or team members that are pretty significant in the sort of comic book IP development space. And I think, like, for a 3-month sprint, this is pretty good, right? They weren't going to come develop their own metaverse in 3 months, right? And so their metaverse play being, okay, hey, we're gonna like try and cling on to Fortnite in the beginning at least, see if we can get some traction with Epic. Doesn't seem like a terrible idea. I mean, I think, like, the end of the day, right, where I think Oni is going, and this is purely speculation, is that I think Oni will ultimately in a year to 2 years do a ERC20 token airdrop. And the name of the game between now and then is finding how to build this IP narrative more strongly such that that token has more basis, right? I think we see something like Azuki is at a point now where if they were to do an ERC20 token airdrop, it would shock me if the market cap was under $1 billion, right?
So
Really?
the bigger, here's the reality. So there's Spencer, you have an approach where providing reporting, and we see Pudgy doing a similar thing where I think providing reporting, traditional financial analysis, traditional sort of business metrics, which is the only way that a business can operate, basically, is the correct approach. And I tend to agree, kind of, where I think the reality though is, and DC Investor posted a tweet this morning or last night. It showed up this morning when I saw Twitter, and I woke up too early. And decided to look at Twitter, which was a complete disaster because then I listened to a video of Elon and then I didn't go back to sleep. So but it was a great interview and it gave me some ideas of growth, but I should have just been sleeping. That would have been a more strategic decision there. But back to the main topic at hand. DC Investor posted something which essentially was like, hey, I would never launch a PFP project. And the reason is because you're always going to be accountable to the holders. Now, I completely disagree with this position. I like the idea of PFP projects. I think that there's an opportunity, and his whole thesis is complete bullshit anyways, because 99% of PFP projects made money and just disappeared. Okay, so that's like his thesis is wrong, but if you're operating with integrity, which some of us are, then I guess his thesis kind of holds. And the question then is, what do we anticipate as someone running a PFP project? And what I think is there's two separate categories, and this is something that we've discussed, is essentially you have those who are long-term investors and then the entire speculative market. And the speculative market is the primary driver of price action at this point in time. They're driving the float of all these different projects. And the speculative market does not want any fucking legitimate announcement about anything. They don't want to know that you be, and the problem is, you're completely right, Spencer. They've crushed the first 3 months. And I look at Pudgy, they've dominated the execution. In fact, they're building a better IP platform than any other NFT project at the moment, which makes me bullish on them as an organization. The problem is the speculative market doesn't care about that. And where I've seen the people that have done a great job is Meme Land. Meme Land is basically hands down one of the best examples of this. He's like, I haven't released the PFP yet. Right now, all the captains are basically like bouncing babies. And he's kind of calling the entire NFT market a bunch of babies, essentially. Yeah. And the reality is, all of those announcements are driven around speculative stuff, not actual business stuff. So I feel like all public communication should avoid anything talking about legitimate business stuff. And instead, that should just be spoken with long-term investors. Keep that private because and you can announce things, you can roll them out, but all the holders want to know is what's in it for me? What is the thing that I can go claim today? That's the only thing that they care about. And that's all that matters. And when I owned a Bored Ape, that's all I kind of really cared about was like, what's my next drop coming up? Your boy is getting dividends. And I feel like that's like the reality of this market. Like, I don't know. I'd be interested if there's any other perspective on this, but that's the downside. We see this announcement. It pumps up on the announcement and immediately dumps after. You look at Pudgy's floor, just down, down, down now since that announcement because people are like, oh, well, if I do the math, I can't make a fortune on the IP, despite the fact that this business is actually building a business. I agree with Luca's approach, but the market does not want to hear those sorts of things.
Yeah, but like here's the thing, right? Is the question is, should you as a founder, I think this is a legitimate question, be building for the market today or building for the market in the future, right? Like, I think that, and I think this is something you have to consider as a trader too. Like, the price action on any announcement recently has just been crap, right? Like, there haven't been Like we used to have these things. Okay, there's an announcement. It moves the market 40% and it sticks there for a couple months, couple weeks. We saw this with a handful of collections, but by and large, if you just look at most NFT products have just been bleeding as a function of time, right? So there's two things that can happen here. I think this is how you have to think about it. One is if you're a short term looking for that flip trade, I don't know why you're trading in the market today. I don't think that the market offers a lot of opportunities. Sometimes here and there it does, but I think a lot of people are over trading in that context. The only time where it makes sense is if you look at this and you say, okay, the execution of these teams doesn't super matter today for short-term price action. It'll go up, it'll go down, whatever. But I actually think that the top projects today are egregiously mispriced because in a bull market, they're worth 40 to 60 grand floor price, right? The top 5 collections in the bull market are worth somewhere in that range. And I firmly believe that. And all I'm doing right now is saying, okay, let me build my portfolio that I'm not going to sell until that bull market by sussing out who's able to deliver on things that would have mattered if the market was better and will deliver on good things when the market is better, right? And so that's signaling to you, like, if those are your price targets, if that's where you're looking, this is, again, I've said this before, like you have to decide if a 50% swing in a 2 ETH floor price collection matters to you, right? If you're thinking, if your price target is $40,000 to $60,000 on a 2 ETH NFT, then a 50% swing down or up shouldn't matter too much, right? If your price target is, I'm trying to get out in the next couple of days, I think there's one announcement that's going to move price or whatever it is, then I think this is just a really tough market for you. And I don't think it's the collection's fault when it doesn't perform on the 7-hour time horizon you want it to, right? And I say this as someone who, my first entry to Oni Force was a 12-hour hold that returned to 7x. That's just not the market of today.
So I agree with you on this not being the market. I agree with your thesis in theory or strategically. If you believe that the floor prices will be $40,000, then your thesis is correct. I also believe that the days of $40,000 floor prices, I don't know that those will actually return in a major way. Instead, we could see price compression. Look, Bitcoin, you could say, what's the floor price of Bitcoin? That's just whatever the price is of Bitcoin at this moment in time. And it's the most valuable asset in crypto, or one of the most valuable assets outside of there are one-off NFTs that are worth more than whatever one Bitcoin is right now, but there's a limited number. And so but I also believe with you, what you're saying is, I want to invest in those businesses that are building for the long term. Correct. And if as a long-term investor, I'm very interested in that side of things. Conversely, the speculative market ain't interested in that bullshit. And the reality is what I communicate is something that needs to be targeted at the speculative investors more so than the long-term investor. And the long-term investor, I can go have a call with them all day because there's a handful of people that are literally long-term investing. And my job is to get them on the phone and go have a call with them to say, hey, you need to go buy this thing. And here's why, and get their feedback on that, at least in my mind.
But why would you want to cater towards people that speculators inherently are literally just trying to make money off of your project, right? So if you or often in the short term, that'd be like the CEO of a publicly traded company being like, I'm going to optimize our news releases for 7-day options traders, and trying to get 7-day options traders the best.
I'm going to optimize our communication strategy for those is the distinction that I'm making, because this is a fucked up ecosystem. This is the ecosystem that you're operating in. What's the difference between NFTs and stocks? What's the distinction? One's a security according to the way that we're viewing it right now, and one is not a security. Yet there's speculative volatility associated with it, and the speculators are just trading on information. And right now, the only information right now that matters is speculation. FIWO's floor has not dumped since yesterday's thing because it's anticipatory messaging. But Oni Force, who did all of this execution effort associated with it, basically built all of this stuff associated with it, saw a pump of 3 hours. So which one am I going to go do? Which one am I going to optimize for on a communication basis?
I think part of the Oni Force one was the fact that maybe something else was anticipated and that wasn't actually delivered. Just to put a quick look, I want to move on to Doodles in a bit here, but I see Bunny and Pio have their hand raises. Bunny, I'll throw it over to you first. Bunny, you're muted.
No, yeah,
Here we go.
I agree with Nick, man. That's just like kind of the. I lost my track of thought. My daughter was jumping on me.
Oh,
Go to Pio.
Pio?
I can't.
Pio, you're cutting out. It must be because you've moved to a location with low Wi-Fi signal, but higher rent.
Nick, I agree with you, but there is real upside and support from the long-term investors when they understand that you're a real business. They come in size, buy the NFTs, and they support the floor. So having their support, they will only do that if they think that you're like a legitimate person who is trying to run, if the project is older than 6 to 12 months, is trying to run a legitimate business that will in the end up, exiting in some kind of way or bringing value back to the NFTs. And you need you need that community of support. And it's a difficult community to get because there, first of all, aren't that many whales. Secondly, they all kind of herd together. And so if you don't have that support of that group of people, then you end up being that project which just has the bottom feeders who are doing all the speculation at the beginning. So I think there is a flip side to acting legitimately and not sort of feeding the speculative side of the market, because that's all hype and very short term, and it doesn't attract those kind of collectors.
Well, I just want to clarify. Well, Spencer, you can go ahead.
So I was just going to say, I think that there's a couple of things. One is that I think that there are actually more longer term investors waiting on the sidelines right now than people realize. And my support for this argument is going to be captains. It's just very interesting to look at captains. The behavior of people collecting captains is so different from other collections. And I actually do think it's because of them being permissioned on Blur, having that enforced royalty. It makes it much less attractive to flip. And so the buying behavior of captains is people just buy, stake, and forget about it, right? My view on the captains that I hold with the fund is I don't really care what the price action is. I bought it, they're staked, and I'm waiting for the meme token. And I think they've done the best job of getting people who are okay, I realize the meme token is likely up to a year to 2 years out, and I just don't care. I'm going to stake and forget about it. And this is what I think the biggest bull cases in general for NFTs is there's just a lot of money in Ethereum out there, right? You talk, Nick, about, okay, the floor price of Bitcoin. I don't know how much that matters, right? The market cap of Bitcoin is really high. And I think that's a big bull thesis for ordinals is the large market cap. There's just all this capital that can trade them. Ethereum has, $200 billion market cap, right? If you're talking a $40,000 NFT, 10K collection, that's a $400 million market cap. That's not that high relative to what we've seen for crypto projects, for coins, for tokens, etc. If a $400 million market cap collection airdrops an ERC20 coin, I think you would reasonably price that ERC20 coin at 400 million to $1 billion market cap, right? These are what the numbers are, and that's not that high of a market cap for a random coin. We saw a lot. I mean, it's pretty high, but it's not unachievable, right? We've seen Blur do 6x that market cap. We saw ApeCoin still at 6x that market cap, right? I don't think that that's so unreasonable if these collections are building towards an ERC20 token airdrop. I just think that what we have seen is the explicitness of the plan to do an ERC20 token for captains has attracted a lot of coin traders' money into it. And the coin traders trading at much larger size have just bought, staked, held, and forgotten about because they're just waiting for a meme token. And that's what they've done so well. And that's what's really tough for other people to do because I actually don't think anyone cares.
US. Yeah. Beauty of meme token is they're issuing a security. And so that's your fucking option. So I got to leave the country, issue a security, and that's the strategy. I don't know the behavior is that everyone's looking for a fucking security. That's what, and they want to get airdropped cash. Like I don't know. It just feels. I don't mean I don't want to be dismissive. Look, I'm going down Luca's path of saying, hey, I'm going to go build a business. If you don't like that, don't hold on to the NFT. I like that side of things. But as it applies to NFT holders, they're all looking for what's the quote utility associated with it. And what that means is, what are the airdrops that I'm getting? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know
what value, or how am I going to feel more important than the regular person that's not holding this in these experiences that you create as well, right? And I want to tie this to Doodles real quick, because yesterday they announced essentially that they're collaborating to create this IRL and virtual experience. The collaboration is going to feature Doodles' first family-oriented merchandise, a specialty toy store with Doodles toys, and a 6,000 square foot immersive experience. And they're going to introduce some lore and brand to it. The market did not react to it at all. There was no movement. Doodles is still at a 2 ETH floor. Nick, I want to throw it to you first as far as this Doodles aspect of it. Tying it to what we were just talking about is like, why didn't the floor move on what seemingly was a bullish news that they're doing something? It seems like they're entering like a sprint here as far as their announcements. But was it the fact that they were just talking about way too much about the business and not enough about, hey, here's what we're going to do for you guys as a result?
Look, at this point, it's hard to revive. Like one of the challenges that a lot of these NFT projects have is that there's a lot of tokens in the ecosystem. Doodles is one of those that now has a lot of different tokens. They also have this other store that exists. I don't know the impact of that has been. They have the boxes. Do you still own those kicks?
What, the Doodle boxes? No, I think I dumped all of them.
Did you make money on this?
Not much. Like I made money on some, lost money on some. I probably like broke even after fees.
And I think that the thesis still stands. Making business announcements, nobody gives a shit. Like they literally don't give a shit. Congratulations. The people that care about that are long-term investors. I was looking at our NFT the other day and I was like, oh, there's 30 for sale or whatever the number is. You're if the price goes up, trust me, there will be a lot more. But the main thing I was thinking about is like the float that exists on that NFT is like so limited, but so impactful. And conversations that I've had with founders in this space have been around. They're like obsessed with floor price. Kevin Rose the other day, that tweet that everyone was hating on him about, outside of his commentary on the fact, look, the guy feels like I build real businesses, I'm sure is what he's thinking. Yet I can't figure out how to fucking crack the nut on this thing. And his frustration spills out in communication. He should do a better job with how he like handles that and manages that from a communication standpoint. But the reality is the communication is so same, or what the theory is the same thing. All of them are focused on floor prices, and they're all trying to figure out what makes floor price go up. And the reality is business announcements do not make floor price go up. They make long-term investors happy, and you got to separate those two things. And all public communication should be focused exclusively around speculative stuff that makes the speculative investors want to buy and move the price up. But the reality is the NFT market right now doesn't have enough people in this space to go and buy all of this shit that temporarily like pumps to keep that sustainable pumps going, like Spencer mentioned. And so I do agree with Spencer in one point, which is in a bull market, none of that really matters as much because all of these announcements would absolutely dominate. And suddenly all the holders would be, see, I told you. And all that the reality is happening is the market's going up. And we're all individually picking and calling ourselves geniuses, but everyone was winning. So
well, I think I 100% get what you're saying, but my personal opinion is that if you optimize your strategy for speculators, eventually
communication strategy.
That's fine. Eventually the wheels are going to fall off. I mean, look at Digi-Daigaku. How often do we used to be talking about Digi-Daigaku and all of the speculative things that they were going to be doing? Eventually, At the end of the day, the base layer behind these things, it's all whales accumulating, concentrating, trying to create narratives around things, trying to get everybody else to buy into these narratives, and then we all move on to something else. No matter how good your announcements are, that's just how the cycles work, in my opinion.
But aren't my main thing, whatever. Well, you'll see some of the stuff that I do believe. I think there are alternative paths. You're correct. If your business strategy is towards speculators, you're going to struggle. But your strategy incorporates how you communicate the messages that you're communicating. And I think each audience needs to be delivered that information in a different way, right? Like if the future of the metaverse is a theme that you guys are focusing on, the question is, how do you deliver that message in a way that the market of speculators is going to receive properly today? And that's so fucking critical. Facebook fucks it up all the time, man. Every company messes this up. Like, communication strategy is very difficult. I am not implying that your business, your day-to-day operation should be impacted by the speculative whims of the market, basically, and the weather. Like, that's not how it should be impacted. But and the strategic direction and the vision of your business should not be impacted from that day-to-day activity. But it is fucking important that when you go out there to the market and communicate to the people who are the buyers right now, that you deliver them the message that they want to hear. And if you're not doing that, you're doing a fucking disservice, because the whole thing that needs to happen is the same thing with public CEOs. They go out, and what is the investor relations department all about? It's literally just this. How do you deliver that message of what happened last quarter in a way that they're going to be excited and is not going to hurt the stock too much? That's all that it does. So now your investor relations department is literally NFT investor relations. Anyways, I'm done. I'm done with my rant, but that
was good. Well, yeah, I want to throw it over to Easy. Easy, I think you have more of a like close pulse on the short-term speculative, like what that market is looking for. And I think to Spencer's point, he was arguing more so that, like, hey, if you're a long-term investor, if your long-term thesis is that what you're looking for, how many people in the NFT market right now fit that long-term thesis? And I think that's a short amount of them. Like, Easy, how many long-term conviction projects do you have right now versus how many do you look to swing trade? And I think that's the majority of it. What did you make of the Doodles aspect of it and the conversation that's being had right now? But where the
the thing with Doodles is, like, I think both parties here are not incorrect. Like, Nick talking about making a business and messaging is honestly one of the bigger things, because, like, there's two different avenues to take. The short-term speculator pump, which can increase floor price and keep long-term traders happy over an extended period of time and then cycle into new hands. And I do like what Doodle's doing with Camp. I mean, an IRL activation of physical experience is really interesting. But we did see something similar with, like, Solana having Solana stores, which they went under. Like, they ended up switching their entire business plan because they weren't getting the same level of traffic. I don't think that's going to happen directly to Doodles, just because, like, they have a very unique situation here where they're trying to appeal to a wider audience. And that's something that I'm, like, going to be keeping tabs on and I'm interested in, because I do think that there's an overlap of IRL and digital experiences. Like, the speculation right now on the Pudgies and what they've done to invoke, like, a digital experience by owning the assets, scanning them in, and then having tradable experiences is huge. And I think that there is, like, the longer path makes the most sense there. We got, like, people in general are spending more time on the internet today than they were yesterday, than they were 5 years and 10 years ago. And that's really where this space continues to trend. And I think that's a lot of people's conviction bet, is that digital collectibles will always have a place. And we are seeing it. Like, even like something like StockX, which lets you now actually keep inventory at StockX and resell it much like a share or a stock, versus taking and receiving the physical product. So, like, that's going to continue to trend where, like, more of these assets are going to be online and digital versus physical, but still being able to provide a physical experience evokes that sense of emotion. And it's why we still go to IRL events. And you see all the people talking about things like NFT NYC and VCon and being excited about it. And I think that won't stop. And it's where I'm, like, most interested. Back to your question on, like, where's my bets right now, short-term versus long-term. I mean, I'm always more of a short-term trader from that perspective, just going through cycles, especially in a bear market. Capitalizing on any potential profit and running with that is always my move here, because I have more belief in the underlying token at the moment for these chains going into the next bull, where I look as NFTs as like a leverage bet on the crypto itself. So, like, I am still holding my captains. We're really close for me to approach my exit target. I've been saying 10 and I'm sticking to it. I'm going to take profit at 10. And it could go much higher, but like I'm comfortable recognizing that, especially because I got into captains at 0.0062 ETH. So like it's a 100 million X. So obviously like, but then it just lets me have capital to then find the next play. And like I built that conviction on that thesis early on and it's paid off. So now it's like for that type of play, I've been holding it for an extended period of time versus many of my other like trades, which like the Bitcoin side of things, I don't know shit about shit over there with BRCs or ordinals. So I'm more comfortable taking quick plays and recognizing underlying Bitcoin and sitting on that crypto.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, Signal, I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, also I was going to say, like, a few months ago, Doodles came out and said that we are not an NFT project, right? So when leadership comes out and says that, it becomes very difficult for an NFT participant to then want to go and buy that project when you've literally said, we are not that kind of project anymore. I understand the direction that they want to go, but for them to get a movement on their floor price in a significant way outside of blur farming or blend, I think it's going to be really, really tough for them. And there's a couple of other projects in the space that have the same hill to climb. Them leaning into the IRL activations is a really good idea. They have a great track record of doing it. I'm sure they're going to execute this extremely well. I've never been into a camp store, so I don't know what they're like, but I heard Easy say that it's a great store. So I think that will also play into their favor, that they're using retail stores which are favored by the market, but that will not translate into a floor price movement for them. And also, I don't think they want that. There's been certain projects which came out in 2021 where you can just tell they have completely moved away from floor price and literally said publicly, we don't care about floor price, or that's not what we're focusing on, even though, behind the scenes, they may be having those conversations. So I think for Doodles, they have a big hill to climb, but also as well, if you compare it to what's happening on the ordinal side, it's a much younger market. An announcement in Discord of, anything from like a partnership to like the really simple stuff that used to move the market for ETH in 2021 will be happening on ordinals. But ETH is so much more mature that the expectations and the knowledge of the market participants is much higher. So you need a bigger catalyst for that speculation to come in and actually move floor price.
Quick question. So if Doodles or Moonbirds today threw out the playbook of everything they were doing and they literally copy pasted meme land strategy, what do we think would happen to the floor price? Do we think it would go up meaningfully?
It would go down. I mean, just because like right now it's like you've had an opportunity. Yeah, you've had an opportunity.
Ray versus like they've kind of
Ray's first swing, and he's only caused floor price to go up across all collections.
I do think that's a big part of it. Is that like the reputation you kind of build or the direction you build, right? Like compounds unless you make a couple O's, and then it can change the game.
Yeah, and it's it's a bit like when you're seeing some ETH projects drop ordinals, some of them get a really good response, and then you see like you saw it with DGods, completely sold out. I think they have a floor over over what, so not one ETH, 1 Bitcoin. So like it really worked for them well. And then you have other projects that come out and say we're dropping ordinals, and nobody cares. Nobody wants the rare ones, nobody wants the common ones, and it's really these founders are on Twitter all the time. They're always in spaces. They're on it. They're tweeting. People can feel how much they live and breathe the space and how authentic they are. I think if a founder was to switch their strategy and just try and be somebody that they're not, like the market feels it and knows that they're going to bumble in the end and end up making their original mistakes again. It's I think like their previous experience almost plays against them when being in this space if they don't just decide I'm going to be a blank canvas and I'm just going to be in it, on it, eating this space 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that Ray, Signal, you said this before, Ray just has like a genuine like fascination for this space and is like obsessed with.
He's also a low-key degenerate. Like he says it too. He likes to buy things and collect NFTs and swing and just place bets, and like he just has fun. Like at the end of the day, the one thing I really like about Ray too is that it's like he has this sense of enjoyment in Web3 and NFTs, which like a lot of us came into the space and saw right away. And it's like enlightening to see somebody who still has that glow about them. That's like, I just like to buy the pictures. It's just fun. It's
like Ray seems like someone you could have rided with in a Discord in 2021. 100%.
just
spamming
like
a stealth
payback.
link on a hot
Yeah.
wallet with way too much ETH in it, and both laughing your ass off. If
Sure.
something
He's
went
like
south.
he's like a real native, like NFT native for sure.
But before we wrap up, I've one other piece that I wanted to discuss a little bit about, and it ties to what we were discussing earlier, is this idea of DeGods, right? Because when you look at like the business point of view, what is their business model, right? Like they don't talk about the business. They don't
Oh
talk
yeah,
about,
brother.
like, hey, the IP, this is what we're building. Like they pretty much just cater to what Spencer was talking about. They've been able to find these super fans of people that are like riding with Frank in this like culture, like frat like culture. And they're like, hey, whatever Frank's going to do, we're going to go nuts over. And he's been able to keep these people excited. But in reality, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like they don't have that business, long-term business plan.
Well, I heard he's working on Chewy, the board game, and they're talking to Barnes and Nobles about distribution. So
No, but they do have Dust Labs, which has sold their application process to a few people as well. So like they do have some tech that they're leveraging, like the Utes application, and have made money off of that. Obviously, the Polygon grant is a couple of key things in there that they're trying to still roll out and do. I'm excited to see what they plan with like season 3, which is I think started to roll out with this new Discord that they just launched to combine the Utes and DeGods Discords, because there was a lot of speculation that the Utes Discord was quote dead because of all the sub DAOs that people kind of flocked to Twitter for, and that did lead to some negative price action and pushback. So like I look at stuff like that, and I'm excited to continue to see them try new things and roll stuff out. I mean, their marketing is the best in the space. Nobody can argue that. When Frank posts a tweet, it instantly goes viral. Tons of engagement. Video content's on point. And I think it is part of the speculation. Like that's the big thing. Like people are speculating on what they're going to do.
Just to wrap up, and Spencer, I mean, I would argue that DeGods is like the most, they're pretty much only operating in Web3. They're only catering to NFT native participants. And they're, I think, the only blue chip that's doing that, right? Maybe Azuki as well, but they've done something I think that grabs the culture a little bit more. Spencer, I mean, I know you hold Utes and I think some exposure to DeGods or just Utes. Why are you a long-term believer in that? And like, how do you compare your thesis to Utes versus a Pudgy Penguins, who's clearly going for the IP and like mainstream play?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, like you can look at this market and have different theses. I think it's reasonable to say that collections that are building actual revenue generating businesses could do very well. But I also think that you could look at this and say, okay, well, maybe we are over indexing on revenue right now because we're just so spooked about all the other companies. And maybe these hype beastie things will do better in the next market. Like, I think in general, this market is like, is like the way I'm thinking about this is 2016 crypto, right? And I think the smartest people I knew in 2016 crypto through that cycle held a big bag of ETH, Bitcoin, and Litecoin. And you look and you say, okay, 2020 comes along and Litecoin didn't do so well, but ETH and Bitcoin did very well. And that was a reasonable, like very smart basket to hold. Like you weren't upset if that's what you held. I think your question you should be asking yourself right now, oh, and almost everything else from that cycle, by the way, went to like actual zero, right?
Yeah.
And so like, I think the thing you should be asking yourself right now is, okay, if I want to hold into the next cycle with NFTs, because I believe there's a next cycle, which is also not a given, but if I believe there's a next cycle, I want to hold some NFTs into that next cycle. What's ETH, Bitcoin, Litecoin, right? And so like, I think, you know, you have some stuff that feels more obvious, less obvious. The most obvious is CryptoPunks, right? I think people just, that's your Bitcoin, right? Then you've got some spicier takes on what you think your ETH and Litecoin are, right? And like, what are the chances? I think if a bull market started tomorrow, the DeGods ecosystem is clearly a top ecosystem. Like it's clearly DeGods. Like I'm not fully convinced that like and I think the market reflects this, right? The market pricing like Doodles, CloneX, Moonbirds at 2 ETH is saying if a bull market started tomorrow, I'm not sure these collections would run, right? They might, and there's a big upside if they do, but they may just be like, hey, this is like the last market stuff. We're moving on, right? Whereas I think that like where DeGods and like Pudgies and Meme Land, I think it's no mistake that all three of those collections are collections that are reaching all-time highs now or near all-time highs because they have in the bear market like come out of like they're not like in the shadow of their bull market prices from the last cycle. They are like bear market native collections, basically all three of them. I think those three collections you can look at and say, okay, they have each owned some portion of the narrative in such a way that if the bull market started tomorrow, like I think people would be attracted into those collections. Like if someone coming in with $1 million, which used to happen, by the way, like all the time, People used to just show up and be like, I have $1 million to spend today. What's my best exposure to get to just the NFT market, right? This is like what happened in the bull market. We just had people doing that. I think if someone came to you today, and I think you should as an investor always do this thought exercise. Someone came to you today and said, today, if I had to buy $1 million, I'm going to hold for 10 years. What collections are you shilling them, right? What collections do you think are in that basket? And I think there's a pretty strong argument for a lot of the top collections, and that's why they're priced as they are.
Got it. Well, very well said, Spencer. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. We're going to be back.
Great show today, Clemente.
Let's go, baby. We're going to be back here tomorrow morning, same time, 9 a.m. And we'll be wrapping up at that 10:15 a.m. mark. Thank you to all the phenomenal panelists. We had a great discussion today on where we're at today, where we're going to be going. Is there going to be a bull market coming back? And we will be back tomorrow. Thank you all for listening, and hope you all have a